Did you know that Java powers everything? Banks, hospitals, and even entire government. And with one line of bad code, it can ruin everything. In this video, we'll recreate 3 real-world examples and show you how to secure them.
First up, SQL injection. This is like handing a criminal blueprints to your house. We are kicking things off with a simple command line program. No web server required, so you can follow along at home. 2 arguments get fed straight into the concatenated SQL string. Yep, this is classic injection territory, and we're about to have some fun with it. Now, let's compile it against the in-memory H2 driver. First, we punch in the right credentials. Boom, we log in normally. Awesome. Next, we try a wrong password. See that? Access denied, just as it should be. But this is where things get juicy. So, we take the original string, we close it, and sneak in an OR clause that's always true. And bam, you've bypassed authentication entirely. Now, in modern systems, this is not usually seen, and it takes a real genius level developer to do this nowadays. But this is the base concept.
So what is going on here? You're injecting a SQL payload, so the SQL server will see this on the back end. Select star from users where username is equal to admin, or 1 equals 1, and then the rest of the SQL statement. So that 1 equals 1 part is what sets everything to true, and it just so happens to be that the admin user is the first one in the row. So that is how you bypass the authentication and log in as the admin user.
So let's lock it down. Let's lock it way down. A couple of line changes and we are golden. We just have to add in a prepared statement. This is like sending the data and the query in separate envelopes. The query plan goes first, then each value following as typed data. That's sneaky payload. Well, the database sees that as plain text, not as executable SQL. So this is where the attack crashes, burns, dies slowly. Check it out. Our SQL injection fails to bypass authentication. Denied. The kicker is the only difference between logon failed and logon as admin is that one injected string. Prepared statements parameterize values, stopping the parser from treating them as code.
Let's talk about Java deserialization. So you can picture it as this, a Java object as a Lego model. And deserialization is the process of taking that Lego model apart brick by brick and then putting it back together, but noting down the exact order in which you took it apart, and so that you can send it across the wire or save it as a file.
Deserializing flips that. You rebuild the model in memory from that list, and if it's trusted data that you packed yourself, then it's a slick way to move objects around. No harm, no foul.
But here's the twist. When you deserialize untrusted data, something that a stranger might have given you, you're letting them pick the order of the bricks. So in Java, when you rebuild something, you can put some malicious code in that brick, and then when it runs, it gets executed. That's why trusting user-supplied data is a massive risk.
Let's take a look at makepayload.java. Definitely not a suspicious file, but anyway, we drop in our object and hit wrap. Out pops payload.bin, a file filled with malicious bytes. Nothing fancy. One line serializes the object, another line writes the file.
Inside that package is malicious.java, our little trap. So it implements serializable, so the JVM is more than happy to call the read object function, and once someone opens that, our malicious code that pops the calculator runs.
And now the victim's turn. Their code opens whatever file we throw at it and calls read object. The second it does, our hidden code springs to life. Calculator launches, proving code execution. If you deserialize data that you did not create yourself, an attacker can run any command that they want under your JVM. Scary stuff.
So do you want to stop this code? Then don't use Java serialization for untrusted data. Use something like JSON or protobuf. But if you're stuck with legacy code, then just add an allow list for the object input filter function in Java 9 and above, so that you only get stuck with the bricks that you trust.
Log4 shell. It's a critical remote code execution vulnerability found in Apache Log4j2. Think of it as leaving the backdoor to your server wide open. Attackers send a crafty JNDI lookup query and bam, remote code is running wild across your system.
Take a look at the vulnerable log4j code. It only takes one line, every incoming request gets sent to that logger.error function, and that opens the door for remote code execution.
Let's see it live. We fire up a Docker container which runs a Python script to inject malicious JNDI into the input fields. That's the trigger. Watch this. We get a connection on our Netcat listener and we're in.
Okay, unauthorized access as the Tomcat user. That's pretty much game over. Now, we're talking about data theft, privilege escalation, and lateral movement in the system. So yeah, it's pretty bad news.
So how do we fight back? We have to at least upgrade our version of log4j to a patched version. Now, the initial patch came in version 2.15. However, if you want to upgrade to the latest version, that'll be 2.24.3. If you can't patch your system or upgrade, then at least disable JNDI lookups.
Alright, you legends. If there's one thing we could leave you with in this video, it's not to trust user input. And an extra one, always keep your libraries up to date. So if you guys enjoyed this video, a like and a subscribe to the channel would be massively appreciated from Clint and I, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.